Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Saturday, which means it's time for a Talk Magic. And today I'm going to be sitting down with somebody I properly just last weekend. So I've just come back from the Wizards Weekender, which was a magic convention up north, and I got a chance to see this gentleman perform on the gala show and lecture. And he was one of my favorite performances of the whole night. The lecture was incredible. And I immediately reached out to him and asked him to do an interview with me. Because from my point of view, I didn't know very much about this person, but since finding out a little bit more, this is going to be an incredible interview. You're going to be speaking to somebody who has literally done it all, both in magic and in business, and it's been a huge success in everything that he has put his hand to. And you're going to find out all about it now. I would like to introduce my guest today on Magic TV, John Hotowka. John, how
Oh,
you doing?
hi, afternoon. Or good morning, even. It's not Saturday, 9 o'clock in the morning. I
No,
forgot.
right. How are things? You well? Did you get back from
I
Newcastle?
am so good, the world wouldn't be able to cope with two of me. That's how good I am.
That's
But I was a little tired after the Wizards weekend. I mean, that was a really great weekend.
it was
On the
great.
Saturday, on the Sunday night, the last night, we some of us ended up in a hot tub at Chris Cross's house.
I saw the pictures. I was invited, and I had to get Ryland back to school for 9 o'clock the following morning. So I'm like, "There's no
Are
way
you
I'm
just a weak spine party
I,
pooper? That's your
I
problem.
am. I'm blaming Ryland completely, but yeah. I am. I am weak. I'm too old for that stuff now. But yeah, no, it was a great convention. You were amazing, and I know we've
Thank
briefly
you.
met a couple of times in the past, but this is the first chance that I've had to see you perform. This is the first chance that I've had to see you kind of do your thing, and genuinely. You were one of my favorite, if not my favorite act on the whole of the gala show. It
Oh,
was
wow. Thank you.
just great. And what I wanted to do on this interview is basically just find out more about you. It's going to be really exciting for me because a lot of the time when I'm interviewing people, I know their career, I can kind of predict what they're going to say and what they're going to do. But this is going to be all very new to me, John, and I know it's going to be very inspiring as well because
It's going to be new to me as well.
I've had a bit of a brief kind of synopsis, so this is going to be very cool. But I want to start from the very beginning, if that's okay, John. And when I mean from the very beginning, when did you get obviously you're 65 now. I hope you don't mind me saying.
Oh,
um
God, my ego
Sorry,
can't
I'm
cope.
sorry. Yeah,
A
yeah, you don't
gentleman, a gentleman never revealed his age.
but you when did you get into magic? When did you start? How old were you? What caused the magic bug to bite?
Okay, fine. So, as kids, I got magic books like the David Nixon Magic Book, the Harry Barron Magic Book, or the Penguin Book of Magic, and it was okay. I read those books, and it was nice. Everything was fine, and I dropped it. I dropped the topic, and then I picked it up again. But it wasn't until I was 19 years old when I went to college to learn how to become an optician that I thought, I'm going to learn, I'm going to learn a couple of magic tricks. Why? Because it's a way of meeting girls. And Craig, I can tell you, it didn't work.
I was about to say it
I
didn't
know,
me.
I know, but I mean, I was a child. I was young. I was young in those days. What was I to know? And pick a card. Can I kiss you? Not somehow, didn't quite, anyway. And but I found something that I really liked, and I thought, all right, I'll look into this. I borrowed every book I could from the library because we didn't have the internet in those days. Can you imagine a world without the internet?
I remember it very well.
I mean, going online. In that case, you'll know that going online was going on the bus on the line to get
Hmm.
to get to the library. That was going online. And at college, so I'm doing a few tricks, and one of the tutors said, "Oh, do you know this is one of our tutors who's a magician?" And it was Edmund Roland. Edmund Roland won't mean a thing to you, but Edmund Roland was a mathematical expert. He had series in abracadabra. He'd written books, all sorts of things. And Edmund Roland gave me a set of cups and balls, battered cups and balls, color changing pen knives, and what have you. And he says, "Oh, there's a Bradford Magic Circle." So, "Oh, right, okay, fair enough. You should join." I'm not too sure about that. And one night there was a show, Shahid Malik. Do you know Shahid?
Yes, yes, I do.
Great escapologist,
Yes, incredible.
certainly in his
And
day.
Yeah, also really kind of popularized the cardboard box illusion.
It
That
did. I
yeah,
mean, that is that is absolutely stunning the way he performs that. Isn't it interesting how we can all have our specialities? You can get two magicians doing the same trick. One guy, it's a good trick. Somebody else, it's a miracle.
yeah. I've gone. I genuinely think there's nobody that does it better than him. The cardboard box just it looks so dangerous when you see him do it.
So Shide is doing this show in Bradford at the Library Theatre. I go to see him. He's doing this escapology act, and he's doing the thing with the bed of nails, where he's lying on the bed of nails, and he wants somebody to tie him up on the bed of nails. And the idea is that he's on this bed, and this other slab of nails. There's on a timer, and if he doesn't escape in time, it's going to slap down on him and it's going to kill him. So it goes, I need a volunteer to help to tie me up. So I get on the stage. Think, okay, so I'm tying him up. And while I'm tying him up, there's the music going. I'm going, I mean, what do you say when you're tying somebody up? Goes, are you all right? It's nice here, isn't it? It's just, I'm a bit, sometimes goes, I'm a bit of a magician myself. And he's going, he's doing all the acting bit. He's going, oh, you should join the Bradford Magic Circle. See me after the show. I thought maybe I shouldn't tie him as hard as I thought I was going to tie him up then.
Mm.
And then I called him after the show and he joined the Bradford Magic Circle. And that was the beginning of it, the beginning.
Wow. And how old were you when you joined the Bradford Magic Circle?
So I was 19,
Okay.
19.
So you've been practicing magic for a while. You got into it, and then you joined the Bradford Magic Circle. What happened next? Was the goal to become a professional magician?
No, the goal was never
Kind
to
of-
become a professional. All I was doing was just enjoying myself doing magic tricks. In fact, my first real magic trick was the vanishing handkerchief and the thumb tip.
yeah.
And I used to do that with people holding my wrists and what have you. Interesting story, actually. When I first started doing magic, suddenly, after about a year, when I'm doing this trick with this thumb tip thing, my mother suddenly went very quiet and distant.
Okay.
And I went, okay, is everything all right, Mum? Yeah, everything's fine. Okay. Mum, are you sure everything's all right? She goes, you can do real magic, can't you? And I said, no. I said, right, Mum, listen carefully. This is the first time and the last time I'm going to show you how a trick is done. Because I ain't having my mum being frightened of of me doing magic. Can you imagine a parent being frightened? All right, I see that's how it works. Anyway, so the goal was not to be a professional magician, but what happened 2 years later? So when I was about 21 years old, I'd qualified as an optician, and magic was costing a lot of money, really, even in those days.
As it tends to do.
And it's an addiction that we have, isn't it?
Hmm.
There were books to buy, tricks to buy, and what have you. And I read in a magazine this thing about table hopping. I can't remember what the magazine was. And at that time, so this is 2000, 1982-ish, 1981, 82. So I thought there was nothing written about table hopping. How do you get a job table hopping? Table hopping was invented in the 1920s in the speakeasies in America. And people knew about it, but nobody kind of did it on a regular basis. And I think there were several of us at that time that must have read the same magazine. Me in the North, a few people in the South, like Chris Power, Johnny Johnson, a few others. And I thought Mark Leverage. Mark Leverage was another one.
Yes.
And so I thought, right, how do I get a job in a restaurant? So I made a list of restaurants and I got in my battered car and I just went from restaurant to restaurant and it was interesting how I got the gigs. I th I remember Paul Daniels talking about how he got jobs in the working men's clubs, and he used to call himself an unusualist. He never called himself a magician because I knew if I went in to the restaurant saying I'm a magician, they'd go right, okay, there's the door, thank you very much, bye. And it
Mm.
was the same with Paul Daniels. Uh, so he called himself an unusualist. I thought, well, hire this unusualist. And by the time they found out he was a magician, it was too late to get rid of him. So I called myself a psychologist, John the
Oh, okay.
psychologist. So I got a business card, said John the psychologist, went to the restaurant, said, oh, my name's John. Can I speak to the manager, please? I go, okay, here's my card. What's a psychologist? Well, I can show you better than what I can tell you. So I went straight into my first trick, which was the vanishing handkerchief in the thumb tip. And after my third attempt, I got the gig. And this guy goes, okay, we'll give you a trial. You can work here. You've got 4 weeks on a Sunday, 2 hours on a Sunday. And after 4 weeks, if it works, great, you can stay. If it doesn't work, you're out of here. Fine, okay. And my first professional gig, you're going to be dead jealous, Craig, because I was big time. I got £8 for 2 hours. Eight of your earth pounds for 2 hours.
Living the dream.
I was living the dream, which in today's terms, we're talking about 35, 40 quid. But it wasn't about the money. It was about how can I get better as a performer?
Mm.
And you'll know, work in restaurants, when you're doing 10, 15 tables a night, you get good quick
You
because
do. You have no choice.
yeah, you get good quick because you do a routine. By the time at the end of the evening, you've worked out most of the wrinkles and everything. So I did really well. And from that, I got private parties. So during the day, I was a magician. In the evening, sorry, during the day, I was an optician. In the evening, I was a magician, and that was for 7 years. Then I did that, so 7 years. And then on the 16th of June, 1989, I was made redundant as an optician. And I know what you're thinking, Craig. You're thinking, you didn't see that coming, and you didn't see it coming, really? No,
I wasn't thinking that, but that's how
no,
it was.
you didn't see it coming. I didn't see it coming. But
So,
by the way, I ran everything as a business. I've always run everything as a business.
mhm.
So I made sure, so everything was declared to the Inland Revenue. I kept records, but I made sure that I broke even at the end of the year. My money for optics was what I lived on. My magic money was my pocket money for magic tricks and whatever. Anyway,
So,
so, that weekend, 16th of June, I thought, what am I going to do? I don't really like optics anymore. There's nothing wrong with optics. But I thought, what am I going to do? I'm going to give this magic lark a go for a year. Because when I get to 65, because in those days, men retired at 65 and women retired at 60. That was the thinking in those days. I thought when I get to 65, I'll know how far I got. And on the 19th of June, 1989, I became a professional magician. So I was still working restaurants, earning about 105 quid a week. So in today's terms, that's about 350 quid. Um, Not enough money to live on, but at least it was enough to keep me going.
yeah.
And that's how things started.
Okay. And did you, when you started doing, when you became a professional magician, did you branch out from Closeup at that point? Were you doing like, because obviously I've just seen you on the gala show and it was amazing. Did you do stage magic? Did you do kids magic, or did you focus on Closeup?
No, all right. So there was no kids magic. I did do a few kids shows in the early days and decided that it wasn't for me.
Hmm.
Close up was my passion. That's what I really love doing, but I realized that I needed to branch out in some way. And I read this thing about corporate magic. In a magazine again. Be a corporate magician, trade shows, and convey your clients' messages. Now, at the time in the UK, there was only really Michael Bailey that was doing that, but I didn't know Michael at the time. And I didn't know anybody at the time. There were no, like with table hopping at the time, there were no books or any materials on how to become a corporate magician. Just an article. So I thought, how do I go about do that? How do I convey a message on a trade show stand? So once again, I thought these things through myself the best that I now whether what I did was the best way of doing it, I don't know. It could have been better maybe, but at least it worked for me.
Yeah.
So I did a few local trade shows, learned about, or I thought, what tricks can I use that will convey a client's message? Listen to my clients. Okay, what is it that you want me to do in your stand? And I eventually worked out that there were three ways of working on an exhibition stand, either on a hospitality basis. So what happens is people come onto the stand is so busy, they don't want those people, potential prospects, to leave the stand. So you entertain them and keep them on the stand to stop them from going away until a salesperson is ready. Second option was to get a crowd around the stand and then promote the brand, which is when you saw me do the lecture, I did the bell horn, the what I call ding ding honk routine,
Yes.
where I mentioned the company name about 45 times or whatever, but we'll talk
Yeah, yeah. You were talking about Wizard Weekender over and
or
over
whatever
again.
it is, but I'll talk more about that in a little while. And then the other way is on you qualify clients. So in other words, you're not getting a big crowd of people around the stand. You're stopping individuals or pairs of people, finding out if they're possibly interested in the client's products, and then either getting them on the stand or getting rid of them in a nice way. So that's what I worked out. And when it came to conveying a message, there were things like conferences and what have you. So I would use magic. I did a half-hour show, and the magic would talk about working together as a team. So a company would hire me to they say, right, these are the messages we want you to get across. And I did a script and the magic tricks to get the message across. But this is how I got the work. Do you think it might be of interest for people to know how I got the work?
Absolutely.
There was no social media in those days.
Oh,
So what there was the white pages, which was the business section of the yellow pages. The yellow pages had all the local businesses in them. The white pages were sort of more kind of services and whatever. So what I decided to do, I put together a nice brochure. Any gig that I did, if there was a photographer there, I'd ask the photographer to take photographs of me, but I would ask photographs instead of just taking a photograph of me smiling holding a pack of cards. I wanted the shots where they could see the audience laughing, and they were laughing because I was instigating the laugh. So put a nice brochure together, and I just hit the phone. And now then, think about this. We are now living in a time where I could work nine till, in fact, my business day was something like 10 o'clock in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon with an hour for lunch, and that's it. No
mhm.
business before 10 o'clock, no business after 3 o'clock or whatever it was, unless I was working. Today, we cannot do that because social media is a beast that needs feeding 24/7.
Yes, it is.
That's how simple it was in those days. And I got on the phone, and what I would do is on the Tuesday, on the Monday, I'd get on the phone up various companies, say, does your company have exhibitions? Yes. Who organizes the exhibitions? Who organizes the conferences? Could I have their name, please? I'd like to send them some information. So I'd send them so I would do that on the Tuesday, the following Tuesday. On the Thursday, I would follow up with a phone call, and on the brochure that I had, I always had something unusual on it. So it would be like I did the old gag with me with three hands on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Whenever I phoned up, I'd go, "Hi, my name's John Hotowka. I sent you some information recently. Did you? I don't think we got it. I'm the guy with the three hands. Oh yeah, we got that.
yeah.
So can I come in and see you?" And I explained basically what I did, and I had a 20-minute pitch, and went in, and that was it. And that's how I got the work. It was sheer bluff to begin with, and getting in the car and knocking on doors.
Well, I mean, that's one of the most important things. I get asked on this channel all the time, how do I get more gigs? And I always say the same thing. It's about hustle. You can't just wait for people to come to you. You've got to get yourself and put yourself in front of the right people. And it's easier than ever before these days. There's so many different ways to get in front of between virtual networking, LinkedIn, networking organizations, social media. There's so many different ways that you can get in front of the right people.
Well, I found, okay, it's easy to do your research nowadays online, but for me, social media, I find hard work. But hey, it's an age thing.
Yeah.
It's an age thing. And also, I'm now in a time of life, as we'll find out, that I don't need, I don't need to do it.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
can't be bothered to do it. So I did all my hard work in the early days. So yeah, so that was that. So I did really well. I did a lot of international work. The thing that you saw me do with the ding ding honk, that routine got me so much business on exhibition stands. And I would, because as I say, I mentioned the company name 45, 50 times in the routine. I get the audience to shout out the company name. The number of times there was one company that would hire me, Alfa Laval and George Fisher. These were engineering companies in Europe. And I'd be in Frankfurt. Frankfurt, there'd be 18 hall. Can you imagine the NEC, but with 18 halls? 18 halls. And I would have people coming up to me, the delegates going, oh, 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 there's another magician here. You got to go see him. Right. Where are they? Where are they? I want to see him. I don't know. I don't know. Guess what? The
Well,
magicians found me because of that routine of mentioning the company name or whatever so many times. So yeah, it went really well uh, until we got to 2002. So I was working for nearly half of the blue chip companies in the UK. And
wow.
2002, everything came crashing about my ears then.
How come? Because even to this day, a lot of close-up magicians that if you ask them what their ultimate goal is, I want to be working trade shows. That's kind of a place that a lot of people aim for a few different reasons, but one of which is obviously the money. It's more lucrative and so on and so forth. Um, I mean, you firmly entrenched yourself. You've just said you've got half of your clients are blue chip companies. Why did it end in 2002?
It didn't end, it just, as I say, it came crashing down by my ears because I was my I wasn't my own worst enemy because of what was going on in my head. So
Right.
one of my values is to give value. One of my values is I want to give of my best to you.
Yeah.
And you will know this more than most, and that is that we are in a lonely business. Now, I'm very much a loner. Nothing wrong with that, nothing right with that. I'm a gregarious loner. And by that, I mean I'm happy in my own company. I get my head down. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I came out of magic in 1992, away from magic circles. I didn't go to the conventions and that kind of thing. I used to be quite big on the lecture circuit. I mean, at the time, I did the international close-up at Blackpool about 3 times. But in 1992, I stopped lecturing and it became less and less known. And the reason why I stopped lecturing is because I didn't want to be the guy that said, yeah, I'll lecture at your club. Oh, sorry, I can't do it. A gig's come along where I'm getting more money. I didn't want to be that guy. I needed to focus on because when magic becomes your living from being your hobby, when it's your hobby, I can spend money on magic tricks and whatever because my bills are covered. When magic is your living, your focus changes. Now I've got to pay the bills and I've got to feed my magic habit. Anyway, so how did it come? How come it came crashing about? And this, I think, is an important part of the story because whoever you speak to, they'll go, "Oh yeah, I'm successful. Oh yeah, I've always been successful." Life is full of ups and downs, and I don't care who you are. There will be something going on in your life that is rubbish, that you will not like. It could be you've got a financial issue, a relationship issue, a health issue, whatever it might be. Life is up and down. So what happened was I was rating myself, and in my head I'm getting nines out of tens, tens out of tens, standing ovations. I'm doing really well. The clients are loving me. But then I would do the gig where I got 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Now the clients are going, "Oh, that's marvelous, John. That's rubbish." And in my head I'm going, "Nope, that's not good enough." I didn't do a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. And I did 3 gigs in a row, which, in my opinion, they were not bad. In hindsight, I now know they were not bad gigs. But I didn't in my head, they were not good enough. I wasn't giving it because
Yeah.
think about the fees here. Now, the fees, I was getting fees. So doing close-up magic in those days, I was getting like this is the mid 1990s. I was getting 500 quid for plus expenses. In today's money, and this is not just me, this was in the close-up heydays. A lot of other magicians were getting similar fees.
Mm,
That's like 1,500 quid for a
mm,
close-up gig,
mm.
1,700 quid for just going around the tables.
Yeah.
Things are a bit different nowadays. So I was my own worst enemy. So consequently, business went downhill because I'm not delivering the best that I can deliver. I was my own, and because I was in business all on my own, I didn't have other people to bounce ideas off of or get a reality check. All that has changed, by the way. Spoiler alert, there's a good ending to this story. There's a but this is this is the stuff that we need to know. Things, and then I kind of picked myself up a little bit. 2000, so 2002, 2000, so I'm picking myself up. Everything's going all right. I'm building the business up again. 2007, we have the crisis, the financial crisis, where the belief was created in my head, once again, because I'm in business on my own, that my magic and my entertainment was of no value. How is that so, John? So when things went downhill again, uh, and this was typical of several stories that I had. So for instance, there was one client. So we're in a recession, and this client turned around and said, "Oh, John, we'd like to book you for our exhibition." I says, "Great. I'd love to work for you again. We had a lot of fun last time. So how much are you going to charge us, John?" And I increased the fee by 3%. So a year had passed. I just increased it by inflation. And they said, "We cannot justify that, John." I went, "Okay, help me to understand this because I've worked with you with a couple of times. How can you not justify that fee?" He says, "The last two times that I worked for you, the first time you hired me, how many warm leads did you want?" "Oh, we just wanted just eight. We just wanted eight." Because I remember this conversation. I said, "That's right. You just wanted eight." And of the two exhibitions that I did, how many warm leads did I average? You
Mhm.
averaged 72 per exhibition. Tell me something. Did you get business way in excess of my fee? Oh, yeah. So help me understand. How can my fee not be justified? John, it's a recession, mate. If it's seen that we've got a magician on our stand when there's all this doom and gloom everywhere, it's not going to look good, is it? And I lost business at that point. I was working for the NHS. "Oh, we can't have you because we can't have we can't have a magician. You're a magician." I remember Bolfa Beatty. We're talking some big companies. "We can't be speaking at our corporate event because it's a magician. You're a magician. We can't be seen to be having fun." GlaxoSmithKline cancelled. I was booked to do a dinner for GlaxoSmithKline. "No, we can't have you doing our dinner. Here's your payment." I got paid for doing nothing. So the belief was created in my head that my magic is of no value.
Understandably, with conversations like that, you could say.
Yeah,
No,
but
it would give so many people doubt. I mean, especially as you said, being a business owner is a very lonely thing. And you're always stressed out, or at least a lot of the time you're stressed out about one thing or another.
yeah, am I good enough? Is this so? I mean, the story. I mean, I'm glad to say I've had a life where I've had times when people have, and another time is about to come where people are all but throwing money at me, and we all get this. There's times when people all but throw money at you, and then there's other times I'm thinking, am I going to get to keep the house? How do I pay the mortgage? How do I pay and because this is business. It's not all good and it's not all bad. So we get to about 2010, and I find, okay, so things are on the up again, and by accident, somebody, an old client goes, "Hey, John, can you come into our company and give our sales team a pep talk? You're successful. You're a successful business person. Come and give us a motivational talk." Hang on a second. I'm a successful business person. Right, okay. Um, I'm driving a clapped out 10-year-old Volkswagen Golf. I'm banging my head against the wall, thinking, how am I going to feed myself and pay my mortgage? I says, how am I a success?" "John, I've known you years. You just keep going. How do you do that?" "Well, if that's your definition of success, guess what? I'm a success." I went, "Okay, fair enough." So I put together this talk, and I thought, "Oh, maybe I've got something here." Now, in 2003, I joined the Professional Speaking Association, and I was known as the magician in the Professional Speaking Association because I was conveying other people's messages. Oh, and by the way, I stopped doing the exhibitions in 2002 because I just got fed up of the exhibitions. So 2002, because 2002 things got really quiet. It's just because exhibitions were hard work. But anyway, so 2010, I do this talk, and at the same time, I'm at a conference at the Professional Speaking Association, and this guy, people were saying to me, "You must be a great speaker," and I'm going, who's going to want to listen to me? What have I got to offer the world? And this guy came up to me, and he was one of the top speakers, Robin Seeger, top international speaker. He says, "Come here, lad." He says, "Are you sure?" He says, "You don't do keynotes, I hear." He says, "No." He said, "You should do a keynote." And he took me to one side. I'm loving to do that. I'd love to do that guy. Took me to one side and left me there. He took me to one side and he sat me down. He said, "Right, this is how you go about it, blah, blah, blah." And he went through the basics. And I thought, right, I'm going to put together a keynote speech. I started doing my market research at that point. Now, this is where I am proud to say I boxed clever. And this is something that I think magicians need to hear. So I did my research and I went back to 14 clients. And I said, "How is it? Why did you hire me?" Two of them said, "We're not magicians. We'd have had you anyway." 10 of them said, "Well, if it wasn't for the fact that you were recommended to us, if it wasn't for the fact that we saw you working, if it wasn't for the fact that you came in to see us, we would not have had confidence in you. So you gave us the confidence and we hired you." Two of them, the secretary says, "I put my job on the line for you." "What? What do you mean you put your job on the line for you?" I says, "Because my boss," I said, "Right, we need this guy in our company at the conference to talk about whatever it is, teamwork or leadership or whatever it is." Says, and the boss said, "Look, we don't want Larry Starshines from Las Vegas in his spangly jacket talking to our executives here." And they said, "No, we need this guy to speak. It says on your head, be it." And after the conference, it worked so well. They were going, I mean, I was having people after the conference saying, it said, we're doing the feedback. I said, "So how did it go?" I said, "Do you know that people in the office are going, what would John do now? What would John do now?" I'm going, "Okay, fair enough." So what I did, I changed the emphasis. So I used to say, "Hi, I'm a magician. And by the way, I can convey your message. And I'm a magician, I'm funny, and I can convey your message." What I did was switch that around, and the subtle difference made all the difference. "Hi, my name's John. I'm a speaker. I can inspire and motivate your people. Oh, by the way, I do some magic as well. Oh, and by the way, I'm funny as well." So, first of all, you're a speaker. Most speakers are boring. "Oh, you do
Hmm.
magic. That's a bonus. Oh, and you're funny. Oh, and that's a bonus." So now they were interested, and I was selling myself as the laughter dinner speaker, the achievement thinking speaker. And after dinner, now get this. So after dinner, I'm doing my magic shtick. So I'm just doing my act, my comedy act, comedy magic, the part of what you saw the other weekend, and I'm getting paid 3 times the amount as I was as a magician because I'm now a speaker. So I'm getting 3 times the amount, maybe 3 to 3.5 times. And afterwards, they're going, "You're one of the best speakers we've had in Yonks. I'm one of the best. I'm just doing my magic act, and I'm one of the best speakers they've had."
Wow.
What is all that about?
It
So,
just shows that how important it is to kind of almost like rebrand and look at your audience and look at your market and say, well, how can I really position myself in a unique way and stand out?
but that's it. It's all about positioning. And when I did so, and also when it came for me to do the conference work, where and I decided, what can I talk about? What can I talk about with any thought? Because I don't have any expertise. And then I realized my expertise. My expertise is being on my own and keeping myself motivated. So how am I going to translate that? Okay, let's call it resilience. So when I put together my talks, and this is what I did. I then spoke for free in as many different places as I could, like networking events or what have you, just to. So basically, this is like the modern day comedian, like your Peter Kay's, where they go in a pub in front of an audience of 20 people to try out the material, joke, yeah, that's rubbish, joke, oh yeah, I'll keep that in. So I was doing basically that, honing my speech. What is it that people wanted to listen to? And then I positioned myself as the guy. I says, right, at your conference, either have me on at the beginning. I could close a conference easily, but I sold it as I either have me on at the beginning of the conference, and I will start your conference after I've spoken. I will energize the room, and people will start talking to each other throughout the conference. I will set the tone for the conference, or have me on after lunch when people are falling asleep. I'm the guy to wake them up.
After death by PowerPoint. Yeah.
After the well, this is it. This is another thing. They'd go, yeah. So can we have your PowerPoint? I don't have any PowerPoint. That what? What do you mean you don't? How can you hold an audience for an hour and not have a PowerPoint? I can hold an audience for 2 hours without a single PowerPoint slide. Because my magic, because I didn't tell stories. I told some stories, but my magic is what punctuated the messages that I did. But I realized what I needed to do to sell it. And what I needed to do was to get in front of an audience. So I worked out who were the people that would hire me. Right, guys, listen up. In your business, you need to know three types of people. Who are your buyers? Who are your influencers? And who are your allies? Your buyers are the people that put their hand in their pocket and say, Craig, you are the person we want. Here's the money. They make
Yeah.
the decision. The influencers have no buying power whatsoever, but they have the ear of the buyers. And they are people like the HR people and secretaries. If you're doing a corporate, who phones you up, Craig, to book you?
Well,
It's usually the
the,
secretary.
yeah, it's that I was about to say normally the PA or the secretary or that
But
sort of
they
person.
don't have the power to go, Craig, you're booked. They
No,
go to their boss and say, right, this is the guy, I've got these names here. Who do you think we should have?
yeah,
So they're the influencers. So I
yeah,
got a list of all the PA clubs. I got a list of the HR events or whatever, and I spoke at those places for free. I got the contact. I found a way of getting the contact details and whatever, a whole new way of marketing, and slowly built my business up back up again, and all went really phenomenally well, right up until the pandemic. But here's another.
So
Sorry, go on.
before we get to the pandemic, so a couple of questions about this because this is genuinely one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, John. And I'm not just saying that. This is
Everything's a favorite interview, Craig.
no, I'm loving this. I'm love because I love business. My background is marketing. I've got a BA in marketing. I love reading marketing books. This is the sort of conversation I like to have. This
This
is
is the conversation that we all need to have. If you're serious about creating a business, if you're serious about putting food, filling the fridge, and paying the mortgage off,
yeah, absolutely.
and looking after the people you love, like you and getting your kids through university or college or whatever it is. Anyway, sorry, Craig, I interrupted. Carry on.
Oh, no, no, no. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So, um, you completely rebranded as a speaker. Were you still doing traditional magic gigs? Like if one of your old clients rang you up and said,
Yes,
we need someone to come around and do magic around the tables at our annual dinner.
Craig. I'm from Yorkshire, mate. We like money. This is I will take right. In my heart, if I am capable of doing something, the answer is yes. I'm not one of those people who will say yes and then work out a way of doing it. I need to know beforehand that I can deliver,
Yeah,
and or the client needs to know that I'm doing this for the first time, or that I have any doubts. So I can turn to the client and say, right, okay, I can do this, this, and this, but I'm not sure about this, this, and this. If you're willing to have faith in me, I'm willing to give this a go. And I've had a few people do that, and it's worked out really, really well. It's about managing expectations. So during that time where I'm doing the keynote speeches and what have you, my all my branding was about speaking. Even though I did magic in my presentations, there was very little about me doing magic in my presentations. And people kept saying, and I'm going to answer your question in a second. And people kept saying, well, you should mention about your magic because your magic that makes you different. And I'm going, no, because I knew that people who knew me would hire me because they knew about the magic, but people who didn't know me, they didn't, if I told them that I did magic, that would dilute the brand and they would think that I wouldn't be able to deliver their message and inspire and motivate their people.
Yes.
So to answer your question, I had a separate website as The Wedding Magician. If an old client contacted me and said, right, John, we've got because I'd still have clients today, old clients from years ago, that say, oh, John, we've got a party coming up. Will you do some close-up magic for us? Yeah, I can do it. Right, it's a bit of extra pocket money. I did half a dozen weddings in a year. That are all, apart from up to the pandemic, I always did about maybe half a dozen weddings in a year, a couple of close-up gigs in a year, where I did a one wedding fair that I didn't have to pay for the stand. So I did a wedding fair for one hotel. They did their wedding fair twice a year. So I got my business like that. So I didn't do loads, but I still kept my hand in with Close Up Magic. So like the lecture that you saw, and the lecture that I'm doing, I've got a little talk coming up. Everything, all of those things, apart from a couple of things, is what I'm still doing today.
Wow. That's amazing. That's great. And one more question before we get to the pandemic. Obviously, very early on in this chat, we were talking about how you predominantly did close up, and asked if you'd moved to stage, and you said not at that point. Obviously, now you're, speaking on stages and performing magic on stages to a lot of people. One of the questions I get asked on this channel all the time is how to transition from close up to stage, because honestly, it's the goal of a lot of close up magicians to be able to perform on stage. And from my point of view, when I think it was about 2008 when I took the leap to actually start to become a stage magician, which I predominantly do now. When I realize, it's kind of weird when I get to a gig and I'm just booked as a close-up magician. It's like, yeah, there's the toilets, go get changed in there or sort yourself out. When I'm going there and I'm like part of an illusion act, oh, you're slightly unusual. It's really nice to meet you. Here's your green room. Here's your menu. What can we do for you? It's almost like you're perceived in a completely different way. I don't know if you find that, and if you
Yeah.
did, how did you transition to that? You
Okay,
know,
so the transition was so it was always close-ups in the early days. I would This is where magic. I have a love-hate relationship with magic clubs. Magic clubs they certainly have their place, and they are great as far as community is concerned. They're great for exchange of ideas, but they're also not so good when it comes to developing your own originality in your own act and being and becoming you, because you can end up as being clones or what have you. Would you agree with that?
yes, I would definitely.
But so I was always a member of Leeds Magic Circle and Bradford Magic Circle, but I kind of backed off because I realized I needed to mix with another. It's not about being I'm better than you, because I'm not better or worse than anybody else. It's about what your objectives are, and you need to surround yourself with the people that you want to aspire to. In fact, you need to surround yourself with two types of people: the people you want to aspire to, so that you can learn from them, and people who are less experienced than you, so that you can pass on your experience to them, but when you pass that experience on to them, you learn just how much you have learned as well. You'll learn
Mm.
from yourself as well. So, magic clubs were great because you could practice a stand-up routine. So they're great places for being bad. You can be. I'm a great believer. The expression is "get ugly quickly," and what I mean by that is that whatever routine you're doing, okay, I work out as much as I can, but then you can only learn that routine in front of an audience. You can only learn where the pauses are, how you need to stand, what needs to be visible, what you need to hide. So I would do a lot of charity work. And this is in the early days. I would do charity work, work for old people's homes. Whoever you can get in front of, you practice, you get an act together and you practice your routines, not your tricks. They have to be routines. Because when you saw me do the stand up at the Wizard Weekender, what all I did was caps notes, money to paper, cut and restored rope trick, torn and restored newspaper. There is nothing special about those tricks,
No.
but it was the way that I did them. And this is another important message. Find out who you are. And that's the hardest thing to do because people will book you. The lecture that I did, that you saw me do, what was in the lecture? I did a ring and string routine. I did a
The
green
Hong Kong.
honk. I did.
Yeah.
You know, and it's all standard stuff, but and it's old stuff, but it's all worked out. And I'm found that when I've been doing these lectures, people going, right, I never thought about that. That's a nice little wrinkle there. I didn't think about that, whatever.
Mm.
But the Chris Congreve paid me a wonderful, wonderful compliment. Which after they did the lecture, Chris booked me for his conference, for his convention. And I says, why? And he says, you're watchable.
Yeah.
Are you watchable? Do people like being in your company? Now, when I'm off stage, I'm dead boring, and I keep myself to myself, and that's it. But on stage, it's like, I don't know, this guy turns up.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah.
weird and wonderful thing.
I
Anyway,
totally can relate to that. Yeah. I'm
but
exactly.
talk about being yourself, and this is another thing. Getting back to the keynote speaking that I did, I never got any work from bureaus because when bureaus saw me, they said, "You're just a magician." I had to find my own work. In fact, there was one bureau who came around and said, I love what you do. This is great. Says, but can you do it without the magic? And it was at a time when I was just building up the career. And in my head, I'm going, say yes, you need the money, say yes. And out of my mouth, I said, I could do it without the magic, but I choose not to because otherwise I wouldn't be me. But we've got clients that would love you, but I don't think they like the magic, then they're not my clients. And then when I got off the phone, I cried my eyes out because I'm thinking, you've committed suicide here. There's business. But I stuck true to who you've got to be who you are. And I think sometimes, I don't know, I'm not religious or spiritual or anything, but I think sometimes you're tested as to, okay, you've got to show who you are. And if you are true to yourself, you will eventually get paid. It will
Yes.
come back to you. Is
I
this all making sense?
It's completely making sense, and I agree with every single word you're saying. Yeah, and I really hope that everybody that's watching this is listening to every word and then going back and taking notes, because the amount of people I speak to and they're like, "Hey, I want to get ahead in business." You're genuinely getting a masterclass here from John about exactly what to do, and I really mean that, John. I
And you've
genuinely.
got to do in business what nobody else will do. So if it's so, for instance, we've got social media today. Okay, social media is great. Send out a letter. Be different. What are you going to do that's different? I mean, there was a time when, for when I was contacting clients, I would send a dollar bill attached to it because I knew that I'd phone people up saying, "My name's John Hotowka. We haven't got a clue who you are." So earlier on, I mentioned the picture with the three hands. I'd send out a dollar bill and I'd phone them up and I'd go, "Hi, my name's John Hotowka. Did you get the money I sent you?" "Oh, did you send the dollar bill?" I says, "Yeah, I did send the dollar bill. And by the way, I know exactly where you spend it wisely because I know where you work." Right. And the gag would break the ice and I'd be into a conversation. So what can you do that is different that makes you stand out? I mean, this is one of the things that today I find difficult to do, but I've got to that stage of life where I can't really be bothered and I don't have to be bothered.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with you. So, you talked about building up this huge successful career. You reinvented yourself again as a speaker. You're firmly entrenched in that industry, and then 2019, well, 2020, the pandemic hits.
Yeah.
Um, what happened there? I mean,
All
tell me.
right. So, like everybody else, our diaries emptied overnight. And I'll tell you what was fascinating, because you'll get this with me. It happened with speakers, and I'm sure it happens with magicians. They go, "Oh yeah, oh God, my diary's full. I've got 28,000 gigs. I do 26 one-hour shows in a day, and I'm doing it ever so cheap because I'm only charging them £70,000 per gig." And they're all showing off at how many gigs they've got. And then when the diary's empty, they go, "Oh, I've lost £200,000 worth of business." They're all trying to say how much money they've lost. And so that was a scary time. And by the way, I'm glad to say that throughout the whole of my career, I didn't borrow a single penny to build the business. But during the pandemic, I got the self-employment grant, which I was grateful for. That's the only handout that I've had. But I realized that online, once again, we had to be different. And online was great. I didn't do any magic, but I did keynotes on magic. And I decided I need to be different. So online, I would, most of the speakers would be talking heads. Right, and here we are, blah, blah, blah. Whereas when I did my keynotes, I had my, I used green screen to have myself. We were talking about that little voice talk, beating you up in your head. I'd have use the green screen to have myself coming in, going, "The guy's an idiot. Who does he think he is?" I'd have people running around their houses, finding things in their house. All these, it all fitted in, so that it was all energized. I'd do the invisible deck over the camera. A nice little, if you do invisible deck online, have the invisible deck on top of your camera, and then say to the guy at the other end, pass me the deck when you've done the routine, pass me that. And when you reach across, you can have the deck appear on it, which is which I
Lovely.
thought was a lovely little touch. It was
Yeah.
how many miles away? We're 2,000 miles away. The pandemic was a crazy time. I was working for people like Pitney Bowes, working for the United Nations, delivering a keynote to the United Nations in New York. And I've got this nice smart tie on, and underneath I've got my underpants under the tail. I mean, because like we all did,
Yeah, we did.
we all did those things. It was brilliant. So that was all right. But then, so when we got to 2022, I realized that, okay, I'm approaching 65. And I had a really big, I don't know if this will be of interest, but anyway, I'll say it and you can edit it out later on. I thought I'm approaching 65 and I should be retiring. I had a big issue with retirement, the R word. And I thought, because for me, retirement is like, okay, then put me in a wheelchair and put the rug over my knees and get the nurse to push me around now. And I thought, I'm not done yet. I've not done yet. And I thought, right, okay, I could die in the next second. I could die when I'm 110 years old.
Yeah.
All I know is that at some point I am going, whether I like it or I don't. And then I thought something nasty could happen to me tomorrow. Cancer, dementia, I don't know, whatever it is. Or I could be nice and fit apart from minor ailments up until I'm 90 years old. All I know is that I'm now at an age where the chances of those things happening increase.
Yes.
Increase. Doesn't mean they're going to happen, they increase. And I thought, all I know is that at this moment in time, physically, okay, I've not got a washboard abdomen or anything like that. And mentally, I'm quite well. Whether I'm lucid or not, well, that's debatable for all of us, isn't it? But I thought at the moment I'm all right, and I thought I've enjoyed my career, and there's been ups and downs. And I thought I need to sort out my finances. I'm not a millionaire, far from it, but I have a moderate. I've worked out a moderate income, and this is another thing. If you're going to go full time, it's never too soon. I started contributing to a pension when I was 27 years old. Work out the number of performers and speakers that I know that haven't worked out a pension. Get you, Ryland. How old's Ryland?
He's 12.
12. Get a pension sorted out. Right, I'm telling you now. I
Yeah.
don't I am so grateful that I had the common sense of sorting out a pension, and it was tough contributing to the pension. And I thought now it's time to try different things. So magic will always be a part of my life. These lectures are about putting something, I've got about 17 lectures booked, whatever, in this next year. It's about putting something back into the magic community. But now it's about trying some different things. I might find something else that I'm good at. I might find something that I'm really rubbish at, but I enjoy doing. I don't know. But I want to explore some different stuff. There are other things out there other than magic. So yeah, so that's where I am. So now I'm just where I'm instead of having a goal and I've got the mortgage paid off and whatever, but so instead of having a goal or whatever, it's now okay, what am I going to do now? And I'm just letting life unfold. I'm chilled out. It's great. When we finish this interview, it's a beautiful day outside. You know, I've got some work to be going on with, but guess what? That'll do for tomorrow. I'm going to go for a walk, sit in the garden, because I don't have to do that.
And that's why having a pension or an exit strategy or something is so important. One of the reasons I set up a company, I wanted to be, doing something else beyond just being a performer.
So you can sell it.
Well, yeah, I wanted to be in a situation where I didn't want to, I've got quite a physical style on stage, and I didn't want to be at the point where I was going out and not delivering the performance that I wanted to deliver because I was too old to do it. I wanted to retire before people were telling me to retire.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing. We slow down as we get older. We see some of the older guys and they're not quite as sharp as they once were. And that's life. It's going to happen to all. Well, if we live that long, it's going to happen to all of us.
Yeah, it really is. So here's a question. What is there? I know that you're very chilled out and you're very relaxed and semi-retirement, but is there anything left on your magical bucket list that you want to achieve? Because within magic, I mean, because you've done so much. Like we've talked about how you reinvented yourself over and over again. You approached trade shows and dominated that industry. You approached motivational speaking, dominated that industry. You've been very successful at everything that you've done, and you've overcome a lot of hurdles along the way. But you've now got this renewed zest for lecturing. We've got a lecture tour that you've got coming up. Would you like to, for example, lecture at Blackpool or the Magic Castle? Or
It's I,
like, is
it,
there...
okay. I mean, right, okay. So I would love to lecture abroad
Yep.
because right, the thing that I found about the lecturing is it's not about the lecture, it's about the people that I'm meeting. Because this is what's phenomenal, right? And you will find this, Craig. Because the people I'm meeting my old friends and old competitors. And when we were younger, it's like, right, I'm better than you. I'm not telling you anything and whatever. We're now sitting down and having conversations like with Robson, with John Archer, with Steve Cook and whatever. Sitting down, we're not sessioning, we're talking. So tell me what's getting on, what's happening with your life. Do you remember the time when? Do you remember the time when? And we're finding out that our egos got in the way when we were younger. And we're saying, yeah, I was really worried about that. Did you? I thought you did really well. No, I was falling, my life was falling apart at that point. Really, what happened to you? My life was falling apart at that point as well. I thought you were doing really well. Well, I thought you were doing really well. And then, oh yeah, and then I got out of it and this is what happened and what have you. And it's the conversations. I'm at a point in my life now. I don't need to impress. I don't care anymore. I don't need, right. That doesn't mean that I'm not courteous. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to be, and that I'm going to be rude to you anymore or whatever. I don't need to be in front on the stage to say, look at me. This is who I am. So the lectures are great because it's giving something back. And lecturing is different to speaking. It's meeting old friends, and now it's an excuse for traveling. If I can travel around the world, if they'll have me abroad, I need to speak to people how to go about doing that. I need to do some research. John Archer was saying you should go to the Magic Castle. Okay, how do I get into the Magic Castle? So I've got to look into that because I'm not that well known, and I'm cool with that. I don't need to be famous or acknowledged or anything. I mean, I've won even in the speaking world. I got the in 2014 the PSAE, the Professional Speaking Award of Excellence. That all has only been given to about, and at the moment it's like 35 people that have got that. I don't need acknowledgement. It's just having fun and meeting people now. So yeah, lecturing abroad would be great. I'll go about doing that. I've got not a doors to knock on and do my research. Magic Castle would be lovely. We'll see. Blackpool, I'm not too sure about. If they'll have me at Blackpool, I would love to do Blackpool, but I don't think I'm a draw. I'm not enough a name to draw people to a lecture, I don't think. But hey, we'll see.
One, I think you are, but two, also, what you just said there, that I don't want people to gloss over that. You're having fun. The amount of, not just in magic, but the amount of business owners I meet, and they're just not having any fun. Like they are just constantly stressed out 24/7. They work 24/7. They don't enjoy what they're doing. They're stuck in some sort of weird sort of
Yeah,
thing where they're just going round and round and round and doing the same thing and just hating their life. And I think what you just said there, I don't want people to gloss over that. I think the most important thing is to have fun because at the end of the day, you don't want to look back and go, well, I hated every second of my business, of my life. How many people get a chance to do some sort of variation of their hobby for a
yeah,
living?
absolutely. But the thing is, people have to remember that You're not in. The realization that I had a few years ago is that I wasn't in the magic business. I wasn't in the magic performing business. I wasn't in the speaking business. I was in the sales and marketing business.
Mm,
That's the thing. You've got to realize what business you are in. You're on stage for half an hour, whatever it is. How many hours did it take you to get on stage in marketing terms?
yeah, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours going back and forth with clients, sealing the deal. Yeah, long time.
Yeah, but you're right. It's about having fun as well. And I can honestly say that in the whole of my career, most of the time I had fun. There were times when it was stressful. Don't get me wrong, because well, I've said it was stressful already when I had my down times, I had my dark time. There were times when I felt really down and thinking, I don't want to get out of bed today because the world's just going to beat me up. What am I going to do now? But we get through it. We get through it. And if
That's
we enjoy ourselves as much as we can, then enjoy it.
Well, that's being an entrepreneur, isn't it? I mean, you're never going to find anybody who runs their own business that has that sort of trajectory. It's not, it's kind of more like this.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah.
know,
In fact, it's probably it's
yes.
because you get a really down, and then it's up there. It's anyway.
Yeah, I totally get that. I've had it. I've had the highest of highs one day where I've signed a big contract and everything's amazing. And then I've walked into the office the next day and literally everything has fallen apart. And I'm just there like this going, what the hell? And it's how that emotional state can just change on a dime. It's crazy.
If I ever get too big for my boots, I always remind myself of the week that I had many years ago when I first started in magic with the corporate gigs. So where was I? So Thursday, I was at the Savoy Hotel in London, doing a nice, cozy little gig for a corporate gig. Friday, I was at the what's the big hotel? The I forget what the massive hotel, very prestigious hotel in London.
Ritz?
No, not the Ritz. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, I forget what it is. I can't remember. Anyway, massive, big hotel. Really, there was about 1,000 people in this room. I was one of 10 performers going around the tables or whatever. Really prestigious, big corporate event. Saturday, flew out to Montreux in Switzerland to the Montreux Palace, where I was in a room, and the walk-in wardrobe was bigger than all the rooms of my house put together. And I'm thinking, I am charging way too cheap for this for this gig. So Sunday day off, fly back to the UK. Monday, Bamford Sheepdog Trial Association. It's just that's the gig. My dressing room is the disabled loo where I'm getting changed.
Mm-hmm. Talk about being brought back down to earth quickly.
The life of a pro.
That's true. That's true. But, you know, I bet you wouldn't change any of it. Looking
No,
back,
no. Looking back, it's this is another thing. It's made me who I am.
yeah.
All the issues and the challenges, and it's the challenges in particular make you the person that you are. So now, I'm at one time, it was like ego was a massive thing at one time. Yeah, I'm the greatest, I'm the best, I've seen some of the videos of me in my younger days, and I'm thinking, I don't really like that guy. He's a bit of a big head. I was right because I was experienced, but how I went about getting the information across, I'm thinking, I'm not too sure about that. Whereas now, it's we've been tempered because of all the junk that goes on, because I'm now well aware that everything could fall apart at any second.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm enjoying, we've got to enjoy now. The good times you've got to enjoy as much as you can. The bad times you've got to manage the best that you can.
Yeah. That's very, very true. That's amazing. I, John, seriously, this interview has been, and I'm not just saying this, this has been one of my favorite interviews that I've ever done because there's been a great mix of stories and we've talked about magic, we've talked about business as well. And genuinely, it's been a masterclass for anybody who wants to get ahead in business. This has been a great interview.
Thank you.
I want to wrap things up in a second, but let me ask you one more thing, which is for anybody watching this that's getting into magic right at the start, they're becoming, you know, what their goal is to become a professional magician, and you can give them one final piece of advice. What would that be?
Okay, surround yourself with supportive people. And that's one thing that I forgot to mention in 2010, the change. I was in business all on my own all the time. And in 2010, I surrounded myself with what I called a mastermind. If you read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, chapter 10 is the power of the mastermind. In other words, there were four, in my case, there were five other professional speakers. And they were the people who I know. We're like a family now. We know each other for so long. We meet up every couple of months. We bring together issues and challenges that we have and opportunities. And for me, it's a reality check because I realized that I was in business on my own. I needed that reality check. So I turn around to these guys and go, okay, have I missed something here? Is there something that I could be doing better here? So in magic, surround yourself with some sort of support network, two or three other magicians who you can trust, because then you can pass work on to each other. You can cry on each other's shoulders when things get bad, and you can celebrate when things get really good, and you don't feel like you're showing off because they genuinely want you to fly. So surround yourself with supportive people.
Great advice. Absolutely amazing advice. Now, before we wrap this up, you are doing a lecture tour. Uh, now, where can people find out about the dates? And also, if people want to book you to do a lecture to insert another date into the tour,
Right.
where
Well,
can
I'm doing no
people
more UK, unless it's a convention, I'm doing no more UK dates.
go? Okay.
There's only one other date that I might do because they've already inquired and then we might do. It's so I won't be doing any more UK dates. I'll be happy to go abroad. And the reason for that is because of cost, because I've priced it so that it's affordable for the clubs. But for me, it's not about making a profit, it's about not making a loss.
Yeah.
So unless I'm doing something local, then I've got to charge a ridiculous fee that the clubs probably won't be able to, well, I don't know, not be able to afford, but I don't think I would give value at those fees. But to find out, if they go on my Facebook page, actually, where would they find out? The only place I've publicized it is on my Facebook page. So go on my Facebook page, they'll find a banner on there with all the lecture dates, all the lecture dates. Where else would I put it, Craig?
But well, if you send me the graphic, I can
Yeah,
put it on. I can put it on Magic TV, and we can have it.
okay,
We can have it linked to
I'll
this
do
video.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, if you send me the graphic, we'll link it on there. But you've got all the dates through, and I don't know if you meant to do this, but it sounds like you've been booked for Chris's convention next year as well. So that's amazing, which is a great convention. So I'm so glad that he's got you there. It's also literally on my doorstep, so that's going to
Is
be.
it? Well, hard lines. You'll have to go through the same rubbish all over again.
I am more than happy with that. And this channel is watched by people all over the world. So if you have watched this interview and you have found value in it, like I have, and you are somebody who organizes lectures for different countries, John is available to lecture and has an incredible lecture. I can tell you that firsthand, and is an amazing performer as well. So, if people want to reach out to you, John, outside of Facebook, is there an email address or something that people
Yeah.
can contact you?
So, and we'll put it in the whatever it is that we're going to put it, but it's John, John, at Hotowka, Hot for Thomas, WKA.co.uk.
Perfect, and that will be down below as well. John, thank you
This has
so
been
much.
great. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
No problem, John. Thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on the channel. I really appreciate it. This has been incredible. And guys, here's what I want you to do. First of all, leave a comment down below. Let John know what you thought of the interview. I absolutely loved it. Second of all, go check out the banner. I'm going to make sure it's somewhere, and go look at all of John's lecture dates. And if you're anywhere nearby, go and see it. It was an amazing lecture. And then finally, like I said, if you're abroad and you want an amazing lecture and you're planning lectures for the next couple of years, please contact John. Again, the email address is going to be down below. And I will be back next Saturday with another Talk Magic. But until then, one more time, John, thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
No problem. My name's Craig. On behalf of John Hotowka, this is Magic TV, and we'll see you again.